And welcome back to Hardball Sports Talk, brought to you by Hardball Sports Media. My name is Brandon, and joining me, like always, is Alex. And today we have a special guest. His name is Jake. He's my cousin. He's a big baseball fan. He's a great guy to hang out with, and so we figured to have him on once in a while, talk sports with him. Guys, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. Alex, how about you?
There you go, Brandon. You got to be more specific.
Yeah, I know.
If not, we're just gonna talk over each other.
Yep. We're going to work on this. We're going to get this
Okay.
good.
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Had a good New Year's. Went
That's
to bed
good.
early, so
I tried to, but somebody in my neighborhood is doing fireworks. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
Sounds
Are you
like
sure?
fun.
Are you sure it was fireworks?
No, but I do live, well, we call it Chi-Town, so you never know. But yeah, so fireworks are going off till like 1:30, 2 o'clock, so that was a great time. And it wasn't like the little $5 ones, it was real fireworks. So it was a great time.
Like cross the border fireworks, or
Probably, I don't know where they got them from, but they did them for Labor Day too.
Yeah.
So whoever it is really likes fireworks.
They must.
So
Labor Day is one of those where I wouldn't consider fireworks for Labor Day, but
no, but they did it. So
good for them.
So yeah, it was a lack of sleep, and not because I was out partying, because somebody else was out partying. So great time. But today we have a special show for you guys today. With the New Year's, a lot of people make New Year's resolutions, and along that list is bucket list, which got me thinking, what are our sports bucket lists? And I figured to have Jake on because, again, big sports guy, and give us a little different view of things. And so I figured this would be a fun topic to have somebody else on. So we're going to do this by sport. Each of us, I don't have one for every sport, but we have all four major sports and then miscellaneous sports. So we'll get started things off here with baseball. Jake, what's your baseball bucket list?
So my baseball bucket list starts off at number one with seeing a no-hitter or like a perfect game live and in person. I know I have no control over that, so it is one of those that's very unlikely to happen, but that's definitely high on the list. I've been able to tune in and watch on like TV and see like clips and highlights of no-hitters and perfect games, but I've never actually been there seeing one in person. So that's top on my list, just being able to experience that and say, "Hey, I was there." That's a major milestone. My grandpa was there for like Robin Yount's like 3,000th hit. So, yeah, I mean, I'll even throw on like milestones for that too. So, just being able to see something like that in person would be just freaking awesome. Number two for baseball is attending a Brewers Cubs game at Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field, in and of itself, is an iconic stadium that should be on every baseball fan's bucket list. But as a big Brewers fan, that's a big rivalry for us. So even like the Brewers Cubs at uh, at Wrigley would be just a great experience, I think, for me and like any Brewers fan. Um, and then another one is to watch a baseball game at every major league stadium. I've hit 10 out of 30 so far, so I am about a third of the way there. Um, and it was so fun to hit some of those and knock those off the list. Detroit was a good one. I really enjoyed that game. It was a little wet and rainy, but enjoyed that one. Hit Cincinnati, St. Louis are both good ones as well. Kansas City was actually quite impressive. I know they're talking about building a new stadium, and I think those plans just went through. But Kansas City is a good stadium, and its location, I really like that. It's very close to American Family Field, where they got parking all around, so perfect for tailgating. And it's actually right next to Arrowhead, so I was able to kind of like take a peek at that too. And then again, kind of going off that as well, I kind of want to see a Brewer game at every stadium. That's a little bit more of a stretch than just seeing a game, but I figured if I'm going, I might as well try to plan it for seeing my home team, so I can root them when I'm on the road as well.
Before I get to Alex, I do have one comment on that. Now with MLB's new rule with every team playing each other, back even a couple years ago, the Brewers and Tigers, I know they are geographically close. They played more often, but they'd play than other league teams like every 3-4 years. Now they play teams every year. So the Brewers thing is actually more doable than you think, based on they're playing every year now. So
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely more doable than it was in the past, because you'd have to wait. You would have to wait 6 years to go and see them at the other stadium.
yeah,
Every year would rotate, so it'd be every third every other time you'd play would be at your stadium, and if you
yeah,
play every 3 years, so then every 6 years you'd be on the road. So that's one of the things
yeah.
I really like about that. So yeah, it's more doable now than it is in the past.
I
Just
mean, it'll
having
still
to
be hard. Yeah.
Yeah, but just having to line everything up, and I'm I'm gonna skip Oakland. I don't know if I'm welcome in Oakland Athletics in Vegas.
I think there he goes. We're cutting it out with the Jake here. Sorry about that, guys. We've had internet issues in the past for my stuff too. So as part of living on the internet, Alex, how about you? What are some of your bucket lists in baseball?
There's a few of them. Probably the two main ones would probably go see the two oldest stadiums in Fenway and Wrigley. Just to see the history of those, how long they've been there. Another one that kind of falls in. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Would be a Game 7 World Series win walk-off hit or grand slam or anything like that. I think that'd be awesome to see in person, especially if it was, your hometown team. Um, that'd be one. And then my third one, which is probably possible, very possible, Brandon, and we probably can go do this, is to go see a banana ball game. I know
Yep.
how much we like talking about banana ball, and I think it'd be
Like I'm
sweet to
ahead
go
on,
to.
so
Yeah, I think it'd be sweet to go actually watch that. Maybe get
yep,
involved in the game, catch a foul ball, getting out, whatever.
yep.
As someone who has experienced a banana ball game, it is phenomenal. It is quite the experience. It is so much fun.
It
Oh, I
looks
bet.
like a blast.
Yeah, just watching it on TV looks like a blast.
It's even more fun in
Us,
person.
yeah. Well, most sports things are more fun in person.
Be nice
Yeah,
to
true.
My first one is along the lines of Jake's, to see every stadium. I have had the pleasure of going to 6 different stadiums. Actually, my wife got me this last year for Christmas. It is a map, and when I go to a stadium, I can put a little ball in there. As you can see, there's a lot of holes in there yet, so haven't been to too many. Yeah, you guys keep your mouth shut, you perverts.
I did not say
But
anything.
I've been, like I said, I've been to 6 stadiums, but 2 of the stadiums I've been to are no longer stadiums. One is now a parking, actually not even a parking lot, it's a field now, and the other one I'm not entirely sure what it is. But the current ones I've been to are Target Field, American Family Field. I'll always call it Miller Park. I don't know if
Me
you,
too. I'm
yeah.
not supposed to, but I do.
I know you're not supposed to, but yeah. Comerica, obviously, being a Tigers fan. And then I've had the honor of going to Wrigley Field, and by far my favorite stadium I've been to, just because of the history of that place. I know, but like, I know you're a Brewers fan, and that goes against everything you believe in. I didn't say I like the Cubs. I said Wrigley Field, just
Yeah,
because
but
of history.
Does Wrigley Field have a sausage race though? Does Wrigley Field have a Does Wrigley Field have a giant mustachioed mascot that slides down a yellow slide every time there's a home run? Well, it's white now, but a giant
No, you know what it has
mustachioed
is the game I
mascot.
was at is 2 drunk guys got in a fight in the bleachers, and it was a great watch.
Oh, that's sometimes
You
even
find
better than the ball game.
you find that anywhere. You find that anywhere.
I know, but it's supposed to be friendly, and they're fighting. It's great. Anyways, moving on. I also have Banana Ball on there. My wife and I are expecting our first child. That was kind of the personal stuff. I'm not going to give more details on that. But when we found out we were expecting, I told her, so we have applying for this now and see if we can get our child.
And now we're having issues with Brandon.
There it
It's
goes.
always Brandon.
Sorry, we keep cutting in and out. My like,
All right, Brandon, why don't you take a second and try to fix some of that internet? Yeah, looks like he's frozen now. So he was talking about banana ball. I guess we can move on, and if we ever get Brandon back here, we can go back to him.
Yeah, I
But the
guess
next
so.
one would be football.
Football?
Yeah. Did you have any sports bucket list for football?
Yeah, so I got a couple for football. One of them is being from Wisconsin, huge Packer fan. I know you guys are Lions fans, but a little bit of friendly rivalry, familial rivalry is never an issue. But I want to attend a Packers playoff game at Lambeau. I've experienced a couple Packers games at Lambeau, and it is a great experience. One of the oldest stadiums in the NFL. So if you do get a chance to go to Lambeau to see a game, you definitely should. But I think just a playoff game, having that atmosphere just would elevate it from already a great experience to even just higher. Another one is, and I might catch some flack for this. I hate the Cowboys, but I want to see a game at Jerry World.
Yeah.
I want to see a game at AT&T. I don't know if it's the big scoreboard. I don't know if it's just, but I saw a Rangers game over the summer, and they're right on the same kind of like plot of land.
Okay.
You walk right past AT&T to get to Globe Life. So it's like it looked phenomenal on the outside. So seeing a game there would also be pretty cool. And then I kind of went college football for this one. I'm still counting it in the football category, but seeing a Badger football game at Camp Randall, more specifically to participate in their tradition, the jump around in between the
Yeah.
third and fourth quarter.
That's a good
That
one.
would be such a cool experience. So yeah, that's my football bucket list.
Brandon, looks like you're back, Brandon.
Yeah, I think I'm back. I turned off my Wi-Fi on my phone. Hopefully that helps.
Okay. Why don't you finish your baseball, and then we can jump back into football.
Yeah. The only one baseball one I had left that I didn't bring up was going to the Field of Dreams movie
Ooh.
site.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think we should. Yeah, we're all just gonna add that.
Yeah.
I've already bet.
Another one that last I heard, it's privately owned by some crabby old guy, which is very fitting. But the Sandlot movies field, I've heard that some crabby old guy owns that and he won't turn it into a museum or anything like that. Which is kind of fitting because if you've ever seen the Sandlot, that's basically the thing is the guys in the crabby old man and won't let them on their, or the kids assume won't let them on their field.
It's all about rumors.
Yeah. So maybe the guy is nice and just needs the right person to come up to him and say, "Hey, can we come on?"
Right.
But that's my baseball. And then I came back when Jake was talking about Lambeau Field and then Jerry World. So
okay.
Alex, we'll go to you now for football. What's your football bucket list?
Yeah. Mine is more on the college side because I'm more college than NFL. This one is not possible because it only exists in the television. But if it did exist, I would love to visit the Heisman House and see what they would do, what the memorials would be. I mean, I think that'd be pretty sweet having everyone have like their own section or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Even if it's just like a hallway or something, or you just go down and see all of the past Heisman winners and where they played. Another one would be to visit some of the other rivalry games, like the Iron Bowl. I think that'd be pretty cool to see. I wouldn't root for anyone, but just going there would be pretty cool. And then the Texas Oklahoma, I think that one would be a pretty nice one too. So any of like the rivalry ones that as a Michigan fan you don't really care for, but everyone else does in that stadium or that state, I should say. So I think that'd be sweet. And then my number one would be to go out to Pasadena and visit watch the game, the Rose Bowl. That's like they always say, it's the granddaddy of them all. And even watching it last night, just seeing the atmosphere, the mountains in the background, the lighting, everything was just like, yeah, I can see why this is the bowl game to attend.
Yep. So my football, the first one would be go to the Super Bowl, especially if the Lions go. I've always joked that if Lions ever make the Super Bowl, I'm buying tickets right away. I don't think that'll actually ever happen. Me buying the tickets or Lions going to the Super Bowl for that matter. But that
Definitely
is
the
up
second
there.
one.
Yeah. And then as a Michigan fan, I've never been to the Big House, and I would love to go someday. That's also up there. And like Squirrel said, the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, I want now with the college football playoff expanding, I really hope that the Rose Bowl keeps its specialness. I'm worried about that with some of these prestigious bowls. Like, I know they'll probably use them in the playoff format, but I just wonder how much they're going to be
Right.
just as famous, or not famous, but just as important as they are now. I'm kind of worried about that, but I will see how they react to those. Next, we'll go to hockey next. What's your hockey bucket list, Jake?
My hockey bucket list it's short. It's to attend an NHL game. So being from Milwaukee, there's the Chicago Blackhawks, which are about 90 minutes south. You got the Minnesota Wild, which probably about 4 hours northeast. I guess Nashville is about 6 hours southwest. So I mean that's not too bad of a drive. It's still too much for me too much of a drive for a hockey game. Um, but just like to attend an NHL game, for whatever reason, whether it is for fun or like with work or something, just being able to say, okay, so that's the difference between NHL versus AHL, in terms of how they do like their in-game promotions or even just like on any level, any capacity.
Yep. Alex, how about you?
Sorry, there was a stampede upstairs. There's
No,
two dogs upstairs.
Yeah, I saw you looking around.
Yeah. So there might be a lot of noise right now because I think someone just got home. For me, it would be probably to try to visit all the NHL arenas. I think that'd be pretty sweet because I'm a big hockey fan. I mean, I know we both are.
Yeah.
But just to see like the different, I guess, pregame / traditions that other teams do. Nashville's pretty good, especially in any playoff game, really.
Yeah.
I think that'd be sweet to attend to. Another one would just be a Stanley Cup game as well.
Mine's pretty simple. As a Wings fan, I haven't been to Little Caesars Arena yet, so let's go to Little Caesars Arena. I've had the pleasure of going to the Joe a couple times, one for college hockey and one for a Wings game. And the Joe was a special place. It might have been a dump, but it was our dump. I mean, that's honestly, Squirrels knows what I'm. Did you ever go there to the Joe?
Me?
Yeah.
I've been by it plenty of times. I've never had the chance to go to a game.
So yeah, it wasn't anything special, but it was our dump, and we were proud of it. And
heck
the
yeah,
history
we were.
the history that place had with all the games and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So mine's pretty simple. Just go to Little Caesars Arena. The reason I don't have all the hockey arenas on my bucket list is because, to me, the difference between baseball and hockey is every baseball field is different, just dimensions of home runs and fences, and just the character on the field. You go to arena, and yeah, there might be a couple different things in the concourse, but overall, it's basically all this, for the most part, all the same.
Yeah, well, that's different between baseball and they're two completely different sports.
I know, but I'm saying that's why baseball's on my bucket list, not hockey.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, I get
even
that.
football, yeah. And then finally, does anyone have basketball on their bucket list?
Jake? I have a basketball one. So just being able to attend a Bucks playoff game. Big Bucks fan again from Milwaukee, and that finals run and championship in 21 was just amazing. We had the Deer District out there. I went for one of the playoff games, or maybe two of them out there, and that was a fun experience. Now just like being able to be inside the stadium when it happens, I want to experience that. And that would, yeah, I'll keep it at that. I just want to experience like that atmosphere inside the stadium compared to watching outside.
Yeah. Alex, do you have anything for basketball?
I didn't, but now that I did, and Brandon, you kind of know this. I'm a big kind of was a Lakers fan. I was a Lakers fan when Kobe was around.
Yeah.
I still, kind of root for team, even though the bum's there. But I want to go see the statues outside of whatever the heck they're calling it. I call it Staples Center, but whatever they call it now, Cryptocurrency Center,
Something like
whatever
that.
it is. I have no idea.
I think it's the crypto.com arena.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to go see those statues out there.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Basketball is not my sport at all. I don't have anything on my basketball bucket list. So finally, we will go with miscellaneous. So this could be sports in general, could be golf, could be tennis, could be boxing, could be anything really that we haven't covered yet. Jake, how about you start us off with miscellaneous?
Yeah, so one of them is to visit all 4 of the major sports Hall of Fames. So baseball, basketball, hockey, and football. So just being a big sports fan, like that's something that would just be really cool just to see all the history and stuff that is um, involved in them. So I've already visited the baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. That was a wonderful experience, just being able to see all the plaques and being able to find players like Robin Young and Paul Molitor, who I believe are the only 2 um, Brewers Brewers players who are wearing the Brewers cap on their plaque. Just able to see their plaques and see, hey, there's Jackie Robinson's plaque, there's Roberto Clemente's plaque, there's Babe Ruth. So just being able to see, like how many people have just been like inducted, especially the NFL Hall of Fame. I saw a stat earlier. It was like 3% of NFL Hall of Famers were on the 1965 Packers.
Jeez.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just
that team was stacked.
yeah. So, just seeing like all the history and stuff that is involved and like in all these sports would be really cool. Another one is like any game 7. And I think it might be on your guys's twos, but like any game 7, just being able to experience that atmosphere in that win or go home. Obviously it'd be more likely if it was a team that I was cheering for or rooting for, and that would be fun, but it might be also be a little bit less stress if it was a team that uh I wasn't necessarily cheering for. If I had gone to like Rangers Diamondbacks, if that had like game 7 of that, if that had gone to a game 7, I really don't have a preference for either team. That would have been fun compared to if it was like a Brewers Rangers game 7 in the World Series. I would be maybe not enjoying the game so much. I would have been, freaking out and, doing anything to almost keep my mind off of it. And then I guess this kind of goes back to basketball, but how about another Pistons losing streak? Let's see them break the record that they just
Break the record.
broke.
Yeah.
Well, they lost their last game after winning that one, so
Yeah,
It's
they
a
cost
start.
me money.
it's a start. They cost you. Did you actually put money on that?
Oh yeah, I put them to lose the rest. I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but spoiler alert, I would have won $3,000 if they lost.
Only 3?
Yeah, I got it when they were. It was not a favorable odd.
That's awesome. Alex, besides Pistons losing out so you can win your money, what's your none or miscellaneous bucket list?
I actually have kind of 3 different ones. Yeah, the first one would be the golf events. The 3 that I would want to go, or I guess they are on my bucket list. I would love to visit the Masters. Obviously, if you're a golf fan, you know that's their Super Bowl. That's the biggest one. Very fancy, very classy. No phones, nothing like that. So just to get the experience of being there and seeing some of the history there, and just the iconic different holes on that course there. I would love to play at Pebble. I would be terrible, but that's always a fun one. I love watching too, especially when they do the pro am. So to be able to play on Pebble and say play with some of the other professional athletes, even though I'm not one. I think that'd be pretty sweet. And the last one I would want to do is visit the Waste Management Open in Phoenix, because I believe it's hole 13. It's like a frat party. There's people cheering like crazy. Everyone's throwing beers. If someone makes a hole in one, you get booed if you don't, make the hole in one.
So
I
it's
just
like
think
Happy
that's
Gilmore.
pretty awesome.
So it's like Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, it's pretty much like Happy Gilmore, but in real life.
That's awesome.
The other one, being a player of this, I would want to visit the four majors of tennis, especially Wimbledon. That's just one of the iconic majors in tennis. And then my final one would be to visit, and they kind of go together because they kind of come from the same area. Would be visit or go to the Olympics / the X Games and watch all these athletes compete for the country pride, and become gold medalists and say I'm the best at the sport, and or whatever you want to call it, sport. No one's better than me because I beat everyone in the world.
Yeah. I've had the privilege of going to world championships for speed skating, which is an insane event. Like you don't think of it as like as crazy as it is, but that was probably the most fun I've ever had at any sporting event, was watching speed skating in person. And I've been to like a lot of different sporting things in my life. So my miscellaneous, I have a lot of the same as you guys, just because I think we're all in the same boat in a lot of things here. My golf is going to the U.S. Open and also the Masters, like you said, both iconic events. The course I'd love to play would be Sawgrass, TPC at Sawgrass.
Ooh.
Just because, is it 17? The Island Green?
Yeah, I totally forgot about that one. I can't believe that.
I want to know how many golf balls I'll lose on that hole.
Oh, same here.
Me 3.
That's mainly why, and obviously we're scratch golfers at
golf,
best,
yeah.
so we're not good enough to be playing on these courses. But it'd be kind of, actually not even kind of fun, it'd be really fun just to, and frustrating at the same time. But that's on there. Like Jake said, Game 7 of any sport, just the atmosphere of it, hockey especially. I mean, they're Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. It doesn't get better than that.
Especially if it's overtime and it's literally the last goal of the Stanley Cup, and everyone's on their feet, no one's sitting.
No, it's great times.
Yes.
I mean, just watching these games on TV is stressful enough, but like he said, being in that environment, and as long, that would be more stressful if it's the Wings playing, obviously, but if it's the Jets and the Flyers or whatever, I don't give a crap about either team. Like Jake said, I'm just there for the fun and the experience. And then, let's see what else I got here. Also, another thing that Jake said is all 4 Hall of Fames. I have not been to any of them yet. I have been to I don't think it was a Hall of Fame, but it was a museum dedicated to the 1980 U.S. hockey team. There's one in Minnesota. That was pretty cool. That was actually, I was 12, 13 years old and I was there, and that was the first time I ever heard of that game. So that was a pretty cool experience. It was actually, I was there the same week. Might have been the same day. I don't think it was. I think it was the same week for sure that Herb Brooks passed away in his car accident. I was actually there when that happened. So just the timing of being there and the history of that place. Another fun fact about that museum, and I'll move on, is they have the original scoreboard from the Mighty Ducks movies there when I was there.
That is awesome.
So I'm sure it's, I mean, I could still be there. I don't know if this was, 15, 20 years ago. So, and I think that might have been it for all I had. So that's all I had for my miscellaneous. That's all we have for the sports bucket list. I'm going to let Jake head off now. Jake, thanks so much for joining us. We'll have you on again some other time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch with having you back on for something else. It's great having you.
Thanks. It was a blast. I had a good time.
Yeah, it was fun. We'll do this again. Well, I just cut him off when he was talking.
It's not his podcast. Get him out of here.
Yeah, get him out of here.
Oh, that's not very nice, Jake. I can see that, you know.
Yeah,
They can't, but
luckily,
we can see it.
luckily they can't, but we can. Moving on, we're going to talk about a couple of games
Jake,
that happened.
you're taking your pants off, man.
Let's see. Can I just? Yeah, he
There
left.
you
Okay. Moving on, though, we're going to talk about a couple of games that happened over the weekend. The Michigan game and the Lions game. Both games have a lot to talk about. I'm going to let you cover mainly the Michigan game. I've watched the highlights of it, but because of issues, I was not able to watch it. So I will let you cover mainly the Michigan game, and I'll give my thoughts if you didn't cover them. And then we'll do a quick preview of the national championship game between Michigan and Washington. So the stage is yours.
Oh, nothing like pressure. You know me. I'm not
Yeah.
a big talker here. But yeah, I did watch the game. I felt bad for my wife because I had to be quiet and I was slapping things, beating the couch because, you know, baby's sleeping and all, so I couldn't scream when I wanted to.
Yeah, that's gonna be my biggest adjustment when my baby's born.
Yeah, it's not gonna be easy, trust me.
Oh, I know. I got
One of
yelled
the
at in your
things.
house.
What's that?
When I was with you during the Michigan game against, was it UNLV? I don't remember who they were playing, but they had a big interception or whatever, and I started cheering
Yeah.
your daughter trying to take a nap.
Yeah, it's all right. She'll get used to it.
Yeah.
But if you do recall, I did say, and I will say it, I actually picked Alabama to beat the Wolverines.
Oh, I know. I had basketball practice today, and a couple of the kids listened to us, and they came up to me and goes, "You guys picked Alabama." I'm like, "Listen, we watched the same games you watched. Like, you
Yeah.
can't tell me that."
Yeah.
We're
I
Michigan fans, but we're going to tell you what we think is going to happen. We're not
Yes.
always right, but we're going to tell you what we think.
Yeah. So basically, I said I didn't trust Michigan's offensive line, losing their unanimous guard in Zach Zinner with the broken leg against Ohio State. If you watched Michigan as much as I did, that offensive line was not the same as the
No,
previous years.
no.
They struggled against teams when they shouldn't have, especially early on in the season. Bowling Green, UNLV, and East Carolina, they got pushed around. And I thought Bama has some pretty good guys on defense. And good, I mean first rounders, even their defensive line. I thought Michigan's offensive line was going to get pushed around. I thought that all Bama was going to do is just stack the box and make JJ throw. And Michigan's not that team to throw the ball. They want to run the ball, run you over, bruise you and everything, and then take their time throwing here and there. But what I was really impressed with is the fact that the defense won them the game.
Yep.
I I was speechless actually because I thought Bama, they just got these two, of course it's Bama, so it's first round talent everywhere.
Yep.
Isaiah Bond and Trey, I think it's Trey Burton. They're two top wide receivers. Yeah, one guy didn't do. I think he might have had a catch or two, and that was Isaiah Bond. And that just goes credit to Minter and Will Johnson on the defense for saying, "Hey, I got this guy. Don't worry about me. I don't need help. I can handle my own." But also what was more impressive is the fact that they ended up getting, I believe it was 5 sacks in the first half against Bama.
I
I'm
think
not
that's what I
positive
heard.
about
Yeah.
that.
I think it was 5 or
But
6. I think it was 5.
but when and we've kind of talked about this. When you only have to rush 4 guys to get to the quarterback
Yeah.
and you can drop everyone else in coverage, that just makes it harder for them to pass.
Yep.
Now where Bama did have success, and I have no idea why they went away from it, is they were running the ball on the outside. Stretch runs, power runs, pulling, all that. And they were getting, I think they averaged at like some of their running backs averaged 6 point something yards. And I don't know why they went away from that. Another great thing for Michigan, Alabama's center, really struggled to snap the ball. I don't know if you saw any of the highlights.
Yeah, and I listened to a different podcast today that's all about college football, and Danny Cannell, the old ESPN guy, is on this podcast, and he was saying that's been an issue for Alabama all year. Is
Yes,
their
that was
center.
the whole reason why they were in 4th and 31 against Auburn, was because of a bad snap.
But it's genius by Michigan. Again, I wasn't able to watch the game, but according to this podcast, the Cover 3 podcast, if you're a college football fan, you should check them out. They're really great. But Michigan put their nose tackle right underneath the center and said, "All right, you can't snap. Okay, you snap, and then you got to guard this guy real quick." And apparently, Michigan's defense tackle, nose tackle, whatever position's called, is probably going to be a top two round draft pick.
Yeah.
So he's a stud.
Yeah.
So you basically can't snap the ball very well, and then you look up and there's a second round draft pick right in front of you.
Right.
That's me playing in Sundays next year. So
yeah.
That's great coaching by Michigan. Great strategy right there.
Yeah, the first half was great by Michigan. I believe it was Herb Street that was talking about that, where you have a guy that's lined up right across from you. You've already been struggling snapping the ball, and now you have to worry about guarding or whatever you got to do to that guy right across from you, where he knows that you've been struggling. Michigan's line is playing mind games with you. They've been pushing around all game. And another fact is in the first half, when your quarterback gets sacked that much, that plays a mental game on him.
Yeah.
He's not going to want to drop back and wait and find time to throw. And you can see that with some of it, with Milroe trying to run for his life at times. But I think it was just great overall defense. The second half was very interesting. And I didn't think it was possible for Michigan to do this, but they actually make in-game second half adjustments. And what I mean by that is, if you go watch during all these other games before that, Michigan was usually up big, so all they do is run the ball. So they never had to make the adjustments because they were always the better team in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is Alabama we're talking about, and Nick Saban is probably one of the best guys to make those adjustments at halftime. And I believe Herbie and them talked about this too. I know I saw clips of our buddy Orvalowski talk about this, of three things. It was getting men in motion, confusing the defense, and running things that they have not seen at all game. And one of them was the biggest drive of Michigan's playoff, you could say, was the 4th and 2 throw to Blitcorn, who all season never came out of the backfield to catch a pass. It was always he was in there to block or run.
Yep.
For most part. I mean, I'm sure he did catch a few passes.
But that's not what Corn was known for. Like, if you had Donovan
that was Edwards' job, was to go out and catch the ball. So that was great play call, great adjustment. Like I said, a lot of things they did great, making Alabama guess the whole time.
Yeah.
And again, the final play in overtime for Bama was a bad snap, led to Milroe trying to dive from, I think, like the 4-yard line and not even getting close to the end zone.
Yep.
I don't know. Did you listen to DP this morning?
No, I was not in an area where I can get that station. So
okay. Well, he had Saban's play call, or post game, I guess you should say, about the final play. He said the first time they had what they wanted, they had the great look, they knew they were going to score, and Hardball called the timeout. The second time was when Saban saw the look, felt this isn't going to work, so he called the timeout. And the third time was they thought they had the right play. He said it was just, with the bad snap, that gets everything out of time.
Yep.
And therefore, you have your quarterback trying to scramble up the middle, which is not what you should do, in my opinion, when Michigan's been dominant on the line, going inside out, I guess you could say. Yeah, that was a fun game to watch in the end and try not to ruin it and wake up my child. And I'm sure my wife was happy
Yeah,
that
I was laying in. Like I
wasn't
said, I wasn't
screaming.
able to watch it, so for a while there, I was able to get the ESPN radio app to work, so I was able to listen to it. So I listened to the last Michigan defensive drive in regulation, so when they made Alabama punt, and then I'll talk about the special teams in a minute.
I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I listened to that, and then when overtime started, I was able to listen to Michigan's score, and then the app crashed or something with system overload, my guess is. So I'm literally now going on Gamecast every 3 seconds, scrolling back and forth, trying to figure out what the heck's going on. So all I'm seeing is timeout, timeout. And I'm like, oh, come on. And while I was listening to it, by the way, I'm not even joking with you, 2-3 minutes behind. So you're texting me,
Yeah.
another friend's texting me, and I'm like, guys, like, I'm listening to this and it's so far behind. Like,
Yeah, I
just,
was trying not to ruin any of it for you. That's why I
yeah,
asked, have you seen? Did you see any of that? So
no. So, but one concern, I mean, obviously, you're going to the national championship game. You beat a really good Alabama team. Alabama's in the conversation every year. So I don't want to be too negative here, but the special teams was a huge letdown for me. You're muffing 2 punts. The second one almost cost you the game. I mean,
yeah,
literally, like,
you were
he's lucky,
inches
he
away
got out,
from
yeah,
making it
a
a safety.
safety. Yeah. And then missing the extra, not even missing the extra point, the bad snap on the extra point. So now that's in the back of your head when you're going to tie the game.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, am I, as a fan, you're just sitting there. Again, I'm watching the game cast of this, and I'm like, don't mess up. I didn't know the first snap happened. I just know they missed an extra. I didn't know there was a bad snap. I just knew they missed an extra point.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here like, please don't miss another extra point, and thankfully they didn't. So,
Right.
But the team that are playing Washington, I watched the highlight. I did not stay up that late. I just wasn't going to stay up past my bedtime to watch another college football game. You probably did. Did you stay up to watch it?
Oh. So here's the thing. I will say this about, well, as we're moving on, I know I'm going back to Michigan. I thought it was going to be a repeat of last year's playoff game against TCU, where we constantly were
Oh, yeah.
shooting ourselves in the foot, and
I mean, it
not
kind of was,
playing
though. They just,
complete ball like we did the whole regular season. I thought, oh great, here we go again. But what really impressed me was just the response this team had
yeah,
of, yeah, okay, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. Yep, we gave up a muff punt and the first time, which I was like, oh, and that's probably going to be a game, because I thought it was going to be whoever steals an extra possession is going to win this game.
yep,
But I was just impressed by the response that they ended up doing, and I I guess that's why I'm not coach, but nothing like sending out a guy who hasn't returned a punt in the playoffs yet,
yeah,
deep inside your own territory, and having him first play of his first special teams of his whatever, and he takes his eye out the ball or whatever, and like you said, almost lost the game, and that would have been very heartbreaking. But I'm proud
yep,
of this team for overcoming. And that Washington Texas game, I did not stay up because I was tired of kickoff commercial,
yeah,
injury commercial. It's getting ridiculous, and I don't
yeah,
remember who said it, but someone said it was touchdown commercial, kickoff commercial, and then like injury commercial. And
yeah,
I listened a little bit to Rich Eisen today, and he was actually at the Roseville game. He's a Michigan alumni. He has his own show too. He's like, yeah, I got tired of seeing the guy. If you ever been to any of the games, football games, there's a guy that's dressed in red, has a giant sign that's as tall as him, and above him is a LED board that tells him how much time there is. And he said every time he came out, it was always 3 minutes plus. and everyone would get out on their phone and realize that it was going to be a while before the next play. So this whole start, stop is probably going to start driving people away from.
Yep.
Yeah, it just was ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on to the other game, it was Texas and Washington. Again, neither of us stayed up and watched that one. So my only knowledge of it is, again, the Cover 3 podcast. And then this morning I watched highlights for both games. Just by the highlights, it looks like Washington dominated the game. And for whatever reason, maybe it was Texas good defense, maybe it was Washington bad offense, maybe it was a little bit of both. But Washington just could not put the nail in the coffin on Texas. They would get turnovers and they would settle for field goals. And
right.
Kudos to Texas to holding to those field goals. And then Washington also had a lot of special teams miscues too. A couple muff punts. They were able to force some turnovers on Texas, a couple fumbles, but again, Texas was able to hold them to field goals. So,
and yeah, Texas had a chance to win it in the end.
Yeah. Well, and so do you know, I'm not going to use the word controversy, but do you know how that game ended? Like with, so Washington had the ball, excuse me, and Texas had no more timeouts, and it was third down with like 55 seconds to go or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep. Yeah.
And Washington runs a play because you get a first down, the game's over. And the Washington running back got hurt, which is the absolute worst case scenario for Washington because then the clock stops. Yep. So I'm watching the highlights because I knew that Texas drove down the field in the last minute to almost win the game. And I'm watching the highlights. I go, how the heck did Texas get the ball back to do that? And then I saw that. I go, oh, that's how. So, I mean, injuries are part of the game. I know there's a lot of people online today saying they need to change that rule. I'm not one of them.
Right.
Now, I think if you're faking an injury, and I don't know how you can prove somebody's faking an injury, but
you've seen them when they fake.
You've seen them, yeah. So, but obviously, this is not one of those times where somebody's faking an injury,
right.
So, you can't punish somebody there. But we were both saying this the whole time that usually in the college football playoffs, one semifinals game is a great game. The other one is a snooze fest. We didn't get a snooze fest.
No, we did not.
No. Now I don't know the history. I mean, I know the college football playoffs been around for 10 years or so now, if that.
Yeah, I think it was 2014 or 15 is when they first started the playoffs.
So I don't know every playoff year, but I'm gonna go with this is probably one of the better semifinal matchups we've had. So kudos to the college football playoff committee here. Very controversial picks for the 4 teams, and you know what? Everyone's still gonna have these conversations, especially with how Georgia manhandled Florida State.
You think Georgia was angry that game?
No, not at all.
They broke their own record of the national championship game and beat a team by 60.
Yeah. What was the final score? 65-3 or something like that?
I think it was like 63-3.
Yeah. So Georgia absolutely destroyed Florida State. So now Florida State obviously cannot say they're co-national champions now because they lost. And so before we go on to the national championship game and then the Lions game, do you think that, because this is part of the conversation because of Florida State, so with the transfer portal and players resting early for the draft, I mean, you saw it with Ohio State even, without McCord and their 2 top receivers, they only put up 3 points against Missouri. And do you think that's why the bowl season is down? Just because we had a comment last week. We were talking about the bowl games and how I'm just not getting the excitement that I have in years past.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the comments that we got was something along the lines of, well, it's used for player development, which, yeah, 10 years ago it was. But now college football is basically minor league football. Is basically,
Yeah.
I know it's always been that to an extent, but now it's really that. With
Yeah.
the transfer portal and players declaring early, there's just no pride in your school anymore. But and I'm on the player side. Like I think the players should get paid, and especially with how physical these sports are, and these kids can't get a part-time job at McDonald's or at the school cafeteria because they're in practice and class all day long.
Right.
So
Not to
I'm not.
mention, depending on what position they play, that if they're good enough to go to the NFL, that some positions your years are shorter than others.
Yeah. So I'm siding on the players here, but I guess what I'm getting at is, do you think that the transfer portal and declaring for the draft is why we've had such not great bowl games, especially with Florida State and their backup quarterback on the transfer portal, and like I said, Ohio State with McCord and their top two receivers either opting out for the portal or the draft? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. One thing I do want to point out, and I found this hilarious because it was Ohio State. Garrett Wilson, who was a great wide receiver at Ohio State, tweeted out something about how, man, it's a shame all these people are missing the bowl games, or I'm gonna look it up exactly because I want to get it right. He decided to say that, and give me a second here, if you will.
Yeah, no problem.
Nothing like dead air right now. This is live, people. I know.
No, so I'll talk for a little bit. So I just think with all these transfer portals, and again, I'm with the players. Now, I think they need to put limits on the transfer portal, and we'll talk more about that some other time, maybe. Just because I think what could end up happening is a player starts at Ohio State, for example, a quarterback, and if you're not an elite quarterback, you're not starting there. So then he's like, well, no, I'm going to go to Mississippi State, and then you dominate at Mississippi State, and then USC calls you. So in 3 years, now I understand you might have to sit out a year after the second transfer, but still, like I know it's a business for these kids, but a very small percentage of them make it to the NFL, and then when you do make it to the NFL
Mhm.
yourself, like the average NFL career is like not even 3 seasons, I don't think.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you got at some point you got to put the college back in college football, but I don't know if I think we've gotten past that point too.
Yeah. And I'll add to the question you asked me, but I did find the tweet. He said, "Bowl games suck. It used to mean something." And then someone replied with the photo of it's saying, it might have been like on three or something. Garrett Wilson decides to opt out a bowl game, and it was just ironic that he said that, and then literally you did it the year before.
Yeah.
But I found another version of it, and unfortunately, he kind of makes a good point too. Is someone asked him that, yeah, you did opt out, but why? And he's like, well, I wish I didn't now, but yes, I did. He's like, he says, just to have played one more with his roommates and the team, whatever. He's like, it doesn't make sense if it's not a playoff bowl, which I get that,
Yeah.
at the time the rules, yeah, whenever it wasn't. Um, and then the scouts getting into these players' heads of, hey man, you're projected here if you don't get injured or whatever. This is where you're gonna go. This is where you're projected to go. This is what you'll make. Blah blah blah. But yes, I do think the transfer portal is ruining the bowl games. The way I see it now is these bowl games are like spring games for teams
Yeah.
instead of, versing each other in scrimmage for a spring game. They verse someone else. It's a
Yeah.
glorified exhibition. And someone actually earlier on the show, Dan Patrick show, was like, well, why don't we just move these bowl games to week 0 and then go from there? I was like, well, I guess you could, but then you're limiting the postseason of what playoff what bowls what playoff the bowls go to. I guess I don't know how I'm supposed to say that.
Yeah. One thing, and then we'll move on to the quick preview for the national championship game. Adding on to your comment on players getting injured, I can't remember. Was it Jaden Smith from Notre Dame? Is that his name?
Uh,
What was his name? Do you know
yeah, I think it
exactly what
was
I'm talking about?
Jalen Smith.
Yeah, the linebacker. He was
No,
projected to be.
Roquan Smith. That's who it was.
Yeah, I
Wasn't
don't
it?
remember his name for sure. I don't.
It was Smith
He was
was his
projected.
last name.
Yeah, he was projected to be a top 15 pick for sure, probably top 10, if not even higher. And he goes out and plays in whatever bowl. I mean, it was a New Year's Six bowl too, if I remember correctly. It was
Yeah, I think it
one
was.
of the bigger ones. He goes out, plays for Notre Dame, and absolutely destroys his knee.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up getting picked in like the second or the third round by the Cowboys in that draft.
Yeah.
And he just, I mean, that injury cost him millions and millions of dollars. And I don't think, now granted, I understand there's a lot of busts in the first round, but he never really lived up to his full potential after that.
No.
I mean, he had some good moments here and there with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But so I understand with the draft side of things why, especially if it's not a college football playoff game, I understand why you're opting out if you're, especially a first round pick. I completely understand that.
Yeah.
But moving on. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. The only thing I was gonna say is, remember when it was a big deal when Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette didn't play in their Cheez-It Sun Bowl game?
Yeah.
Back then, and then now look at it, everyone's sitting out, transferring out. But yeah, like I said, it's just the transfer portal kind of killed the whole bowl season, and I always enjoyed the bowl season. You get these teams. You get to go to different areas. You get great names out of the bowl games.
Like the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Pop-Tart. Hey, that's probably my favorite bowl game outside the New Year's Six now with an edible mascot. Look it up, people.
It's great.
It's great.
But anyways, moving on. What's your we won't do game picks. We'll do that tomorrow with the NFL games. But what's your quick preview for the Washington-Michigan National Championship game?
It's one of the best offenses in Washington, with Michael Penix Jr. throwing the ball to very good outside receivers. And if you kind of I watched some of the Washington games just because they were good. That dude always seems to know where his safety valve / outlet is, or the check down is, no matter if he's getting moved around the pocket. Even when he's getting hit, I think I watched one of the part of the Texas game. He was dropping back, gets hit, but still manages to throw a ball just where, like they always say, get it to where your receiver can get it or no one can get it. And it was like a 40 to 50-yard bomb that got him into, I think it was into the red zone. So I think Washington's offense, they haven't, I'll say this, they probably have not seen this good of a defense coming up. I think Michigan had the better defense than Texas. Just because it's the no-name defense, like they've been saying all year. I think it'll be an interesting chess match game of offense and defense, and I'll leave it at that.
I don't think Michigan's seen an offense quite like this either, though. Like, I mean, the weapons on offense, wide receivers, I think you can compare Ohio State's to it, but Michael Penix Jr. is way
Probably
better than Kyle McCord. And even Alabama's quarterback.
Penix is probably the second best quarterback that they've seen passing wise.
Yeah. And then Alabama's quarterback, I'm drawing his name right now. Wow. What's Alabama's quarterback?
Milroe?
Yeah, Milroe. He's a great running quarterback, but the arm, he's not going to beat you with it. That's what Michigan's strategy was last night. We beat you with our arm, or beat us with your arm. I dare you.
Yeah.
And so, who do you think is the best quarterback that Michigan saw this year? And then we'll move on to the Lions.
It's Tua's little brother.
Okay. Yep.
If he was on a different team and it wasn't Maryland, he would have definitely beat him. If he was on Ohio State, he would have beat us. But I think he's probably the best quarterback Michigan has seen so far, and he tore us up. Yeah, Michigan won, but that's because they just had more talent.
Yeah.
So I think this game's going to be the toughest game that Michigan will play, just because of
Yep.
how explosive that offense is.
Yep. Obviously, we were both hoping for a good game. Obviously, we want Michigan to win, but I also don't want to blow out either. I actually want this to be a good game.
Right.
I think it's got potential to be a really good game. Moving on, though, I just wanted to talk about the Lions game for a little bit. I'm not spoiler, but I'm gonna give you guys a warning or heads up right now. I did not watch the ending to the game. I had some personal stuff come up, and there are some things in life that are more important than sports, and I have my priorities straight.
Yep, family first.
Yeah, family first. So I had some family issues going on that I take care of. So I'm not going to be able to watch every single game, and I'm okay with that. But I do keep an eye on what's going on, and if something does happen, I do my homework on what happened, and then I'll give my best opinion on what's going on.
Yep.
But before we get to the ending, I do want to say this: the Lions' defense stepped up.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've been sitting here for the last 2 months now saying this defense is terrible, like absolutely brutal. And I mean, I was at basketball practice today, and one of the teachers came up to me and was talking to me with the Lions game, and goes, "Man, that defense looked really good." I go, "Yeah." I go, "I don't know where that came from." They go, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Nick Mullins just threw for 400 yards against them last week."
Yeah.
They're like, he got 400. They got 4 interceptions. I go, our local high school team right now could get 4 interceptions off Nick Mullins.
Right.
I mean, it's not that bad, but like, kind of like anybody can go out there and pick off Nick Mullins. It's kind of my argument. And he looked at me and goes, "Yep, I honestly agree with you on that one." So you go into this game against Dallas, who, say what you want about Dak Prescott, but he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Like, I'm not considering trash Dak Prescott. I think he's good.
Not to mention, I don't know if you're gonna bring this up, and I don't mean to cut you off. I just
go ahead.
Thought of it. The Dallas team at home was averaging 40 points.
Yeah,
and they were 8. Well, they're 9-0 now, I think, but 40 points they were averaging, and this Lions defense somehow, some way, managed to hold them to 20.
Yeah.
So half of what they were averaging at home, the Lions defense actually traveled to somewhere and held the team to half the points that they normally would average.
And a good football team, might add you. It wasn't the Dallas. It's not like the Dallas Cowboys are fighting for the first overall pick. It's the Dallas Cowboys are fighting
this is
for
a
the
playoff team that you traveled to their place, which, if everything works out, there's a chance that they'll have to do it again in the actual playoffs.
And you know what?
Listening tomorrow.
And the Lions players after the game said, "We want to come back."
Yeah.
Like they want the Cowboys. Anyways, so I'm proud of that defense. There was that one play in the first half where Derek Barnes had a wide open shot at Dak Prescott, and then for a safety, and then the Cowboys ended up getting a 99-yard touchdown.
Yep.
And that's when both of us were like, "Uh-oh, we're in trouble."
Yep.
But the team was able to respond. The offense, granted, didn't have a great game, but they made enough plays, I think, to keep it in the game. Like I said, the defense, great game, forcing turnovers, getting an interception, fumble that went in the back of the end zone for a safety, which there's also now controversy on that rule, which my thought is, so what do you want to do? Rule it a touchdown? Because if he fumbled that ball at the 33 and it lands at the 30, then the Cowboys get the ball at the 30.
Yeah.
So you either got to change the rule for everywhere and figure something else out, or that's a touchback, and I think it needs to say a touchback. But
why would you reward a team a touchdown when they fumbled the ball?
Yeah, I don't know what the internet wants, but one of those clickbait Facebook pages was saying that they want to change that rule, and I'm like, why? I don't know if they want to give them a touchdown, but they wanted Dallas to keep the ball. I'm like, okay, whatever.
If you want to give them loss of yardage for doing that, that's fine.
Yeah.
But don't give them a touchdown because they fumbled the ball.
Yeah, I don't think they wanted a touchdown, but they didn't think Dallas should have lost the ball, and Detroit should have gotten it at the 20.
Right.
But that's again, I'm okay with that rule. Even if it hurt the Lions, I would be okay. Like, I understand that rule. It makes sense to me. And then I didn't like some of the coaching decisions that Dan Campbell made. I understand Dan Campbell's an aggressive man, and that's why we love him. But at the same time, you got to learn when to kick the ball, and you got to learn when to punt the ball. And, like, for example, in the first half, there was that drive that we were at, like, the 2-3 yard line, and it was 4th down, and he goes for it. Now, if you get a touchdown, great. But and I understand the mindset of it too, because the defense, like we said, played a really great game. But you got to take the points, especially on the road. Now, I
I know
understand.
you should, but he's not going to do that. And
No, he's not.
This is what we signed up for. But this is what we're going to get is a guy is going to make decisions that are aggressive, and
Which I'm okay with that, but like,
we're going to die by it.
Yeah.
Did it bite us? Yeah, it's going to bite us. But when it pays off, it's probably going to be good.
Yeah.
Good for us.
So, like, I understand the thought process behind it, because now Dallas has to drive the ball 97 yards to get a touchdown. So I understand the thought process behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not completely against it, but I just would have rather kicked a field goal there.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's who Dan Campbell is, and you know what? He's true to himself. He's not fake.
Right.
And
that's what I like about him.
That's what I like about him too. Now, do I agree with every decision he makes? Obviously, no.
No.
But he's proven, him and Brad Holmes have proven they know what the heck they're doing. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And then speaking of being overly aggressive, the next thing is the ending of the game. So I haven't told you my theory on what happened, and it's reasonable and it's plausible, and Lions fans will not like it.
There's a few things I want to say. I'll let you say what you want to say, and then I want to bring up an example and something else that was not getting talked about.
Yeah. So here's what I think happened. So the Lions, when they ever have 6 offensive linemen on the field, more often than not, it's Dan Skipper that reports as eligible. And so the Lions bring out 6 offensive linemen, and Decker goes out to the referee and says, "Hey, I'm reporting as eligible." He may or may not have said his number. Obviously, I wasn't there. So I don't really, and I'm sure it was mic'd up, but I haven't heard the audio of it. But I'm guessing he says, "Hey, I'm reporting as eligible," and the ref may or may not have heard his number or whatever. Looks up and sees Dan Skipper, number 70. Goes, number 70 is reporting as eligible, number 70. So somebody on the Lions sideline should have heard that and said, "Hey, that's not who's reporting as eligible." And then there's a referee on the side for the coaches. Campbell should have said, "Hey, that's not who reported. What do we do?" Like, I don't know if the Lions had any timeouts at this point. I don't believe they did. But I think that's what happened is the referee heard I'm reporting as eligible, looked up and saw Dan Skipper and said, "Oh, they always report Dan Skipper. That's who they're probably bringing in at this point." I do know, though, that the Lions told the refs before the game, "Hey, we have a play where Taylor Decker, number 68, is going to report as eligible," because I've actually seen videos on YouTube or online somewhere of referees pregame, and what they'll do is they go up to the coaches before the game. It might have been a college video, to be completely honest with you, but I would assume NFL is the same, where they go up to the coaches before the game and say, "Hey, do you have any trick plays up your sleeve, any formations that are a little wacky that you need for us to be aware of?" And the coach will say, "Here's what we got." So I'm assuming Dan Campbell said, "Yeah, we have this formation that if we get in a 2-point situation, we have number 68 reporting as eligible."
Yeah.
So, but again, it was the last play of the game or last drive of the game. The ref's probably not thinking about that conversation at that moment, and then sees, I'm reporting as eligible, looks up and sees number 70. I think that's what happened. I don't think there was any, I know a lot of people think it's Detroit against everybody, which I believe in that to an extent. I don't think that's what happened here. I think it was an honest human mistake. And again, when the mic or the ref went on the mic and said number 70, somebody on the sideline should have noticed that or something and said, "Hey, no, it's 68."
Right.
But that's my 2 cents on that. So I'm not putting any fault in the referee. I see the honest mistake there.
Yeah. I'm to an extent, I guess I would say I am. If you watch the other, not the broadcast, because the broadcast was kind of bad of what happened. They never showed the replay till like later on, but like this, I guess the fan video, it showed Sewell Decker talking to the ref, and like you were saying, Skipper comes in, he sees Skipper, and instantly he goes over to Dallas as you see Skipper running on. I don't even think Skipper made it to him. Runs over to Dallas, tells him that 70's eligible. Apparently, he announced it.
Yeah. Yeah, you
I
know,
think the Dallas
I
radio
heard
call.
yeah.
What? Sorry.
I heard it on, like you said, the Dallas radio call.
Yeah.
Number 70 is reporting as eligible, number 70.
So, like you're saying, that someone lines should have said something. And if they do change it, then obviously Dallas is gonna be like, why would they change it now? Maybe you call a timeout. Anyways, that's out of the story.
Did the
But
Lions
I
have any
felt like
timeouts left?
they might not have.
I don't know. I don't know what the ruling is there, because if the ref,
It might be an official's
anyways,
timeout.
yeah. I don't know what the ruling is on that.
Anyways, he should not. He should have. And like you said, it's on his mistake. The dude's been coming in all game. Here he
All
comes
season.
again. That's what you see. You see a guy, somebody running. You're not listening to the two guys that are talking to you.
Yeah.
And even I don't know if you heard it in the presser. I think it was yesterday or today that Dan Campbell said, he's like, yeah, we purposely had Sewell and Decker go over there with the intent to be confusing for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think it bit him.
Yeah.
That, and I was thinking about it. I was like, where have I heard something similar to this? And I don't know if you remember, but back in 2015, it was Michigan versus Michigan State, right? And one of my favorite players, his name was Jake Butt, right? He was a tight end for Michigan, played, got injured in the bowl game. Long story. During that game, I think it was close to being tied, or Michigan was down, whatever. Michigan got flagged for substitute with intent to deceive. What does that mean? That means Jake Buck fake going to the sideline like he was subbing out, but actually stayed on the field while everyone else huddled. They break the huddle. He's wide open. No one's covering him. They throw it. He goes down the field. If you ever wonder what was behind that, I believe Jake Butt posted on his Twitter some time ago. But he even said that, kind of like what you're saying in college, that Hardball brought that up, that, and according to Butt, he said it's the ruling is based on how the officials see it, if they want to call it, if they don't want to call it, if they want to allow it or not. And I can't remember if he said that. They said, yeah, that's not a problem if you do that. Just, we're going to make it obvious that, or not obvious. I can't remember all the story. You can look it up. It's terrible talking. But anyways.
It really is.
Yeah, I know. I'm not the best at this, all right? I'm working on it.
We're getting better. We're learning. We're learning as we go.
Yeah. There'll be a lot less ums and ahs and ums and ahs.
Yeah.
Anyways, long story short, it was very similar to what happened here. Is everyone got confused and then there was a flag. Another thing that has not been talked about is even if the play stood, there should have been another penalty for illegal formation, because I believe Decker was actually covered up by the guard. Therefore,
and
he was
that's
not
what
eligible to go down the field.
And actually, the teacher that was talking to me today actually said the exact same thing. He goes, "There's a view that I've seen where Decker was covered."
Yeah.
And
even the rules analyst, I don't know who it is for ESPN. It's like, yeah, there's two flags here. One, was the late call of 20 seconds later, illegal touching. It's like, two is like, there should have been also an illegal formation because he was covered up by the guard. So the play wouldn't have counted either way. So even if the refs did screw him, still would have been flagged. And yeah, no one wants to talk about that either. But yeah,
no, because that doesn't fit the narrative of Detroit versus everybody.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to be an honest fan here.
Well, I know.
I was like, you guys realize that we should have been called for another penalty there, as in illegal formation.
Well, and like I said, I didn't watch the ending of the game, so I woke up Sunday morning and I go on Instagram and Facebook, and all I see is Detroit versus everybody. The refs screwed us, and it's all Lions fans and Lions fans pages posting this. And now, granted, I'm a Lions fan, so I'm probably guilty of this to an extent too.
Yeah,
But I don't trust fans, and I don't trust fan pages. When I'm trying to figure out what the heck happened, those are the last places I look.
right.
Just because fans, and again, we're guilty of this too. But I'm trying to get better with it. Fans, they don't see the whole picture.
Yeah, say we're one-sided when it's against our team.
Yeah. So, like, for example, when Detroit fans think that Green Bay gets all the good calls or all the calls against the Lions, there's a channel on YouTube that the guy goes through every bad call made in the NFL that week, and there are some doozies that have nothing to do with the Lions. And I'm like, oh, what's this game have to do with the Lions? That was a bad call. Why is that only happening? I thought that only happened to the Lions.
Right.
So when I see when I see Lions fans, Lions pages, and again, I'm guilty to an extent of this too, but I just don't trust them because, like I said, they don't look at the whole picture. They're just, the refs hate my team. They take it personally to me, and I think every fan base does.
Yeah.
So I don't take my information from fan pages, so that's why I texted you Sunday morning. I go, okay.
I was gonna say, you texted me, and I was like, yeah, this is actually what happened.
Yeah. So that's why I texted you, because I don't you're like me, where I think you have enough common sense to know, okay, let's take a breath here. Let's actually look at the whole picture, see what happened here.
Another side story. Speaking of that, the game should have been over with on Dallas's final drive. Yeah, I'm sure our Packer fans can tell us about Mike McCarthy's game management. But literally, Aiden Hutchinson should have been called for tripping, and that would have ended the game.
Well, and that's I didn't see that, but I heard about that where they called Dallas for tripping, and it was Detroit, actually.
There was like a still shot, and you can see Hutch's leg was sticking out, and I couldn't even see the guy who got called, the tight end. I didn't even know where he was on the field. So
yeah,
that's another honest of a Lions fan is, yeah, the game should have been over. We should have never been in this position either way.
Yeah. So that is all we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for checking us out. We'll be back tomorrow for our Week 18 NFL preview. A lot of games with playoff implications. There is a chance, I believe, it's very slim, but I believe the Lions are still in play for the 1 seed. I could be wrong on that. I know they're still in play for the 2 seed. They need a lot of help for that, though.
I think they're out of the running for 1 seed now.
They're out of San Francisco.
Yeah, they needed to win both games, and 49ers to lose once.
Okay. So they're out of contention for the 1 seed, but with Philly losing to Arizona, which was probably the stunner of the weekend, we'll talk more about those games. But Lions are more than likely going to be the 3 seed in the playoff. We'll talk more about that. And tomorrow, we'll preview every game. And then we'll also throw in the national championship game for college football in there for you guys tomorrow. So tomorrow will be strictly game picks. Thank you guys so much for checking today's episode out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks, Jake, for joining us earlier. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. My wife was scrolling on Instagram is what happened. So I told her to turn her phone off. So hopefully we'll have no more issues tomorrow and going forward. Thank you guys again for checking us out. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever else you get your podcast. And we will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.